We'll start the proceedings with our welcome or acknowledgement of country. So we acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wonnarua people, and we pay our respects to the elders past and present. We have a few apologies for this morning. So Doug Critch from Bailey's, Peter Marquette from The Grader, Paul Humphrey from Humphrey's Events, Lynn Howard from Penman Electrics, and Meryl Swanson from Social Media Training School. We'd also like to welcome the Mayor of Maitland, Mr. Peter Blackmore, and also the Member for Maitland, Robin Parker. So welcome to those guys. All right, so at our last meeting, which would have been November last year, our tradition is that we have a lucky card draw for those people that are here early enough to network, and the winner was a former president, Mr. Bob Kerr. So he's going to get 5 minutes this morning to tell us all about his business, the Executive Connection. So welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Craig. I've been a business coach for 25 years, and today my business runs in two areas. When we kicked off 25 years ago, there was no such thing as a business coach, and we really didn't know what to put as a classification on our business card. But over the years, this industry has evolved, and the firm that I'm involved with was one of the pioneers. The difference between a coach and a consultant is a coach gets what you've got up here into an implementable format. Now, to a certain extent, a consultant can do that too, but basically they teach you their way. So we believe, and if we think about it, how much have we learnt in our lifetime that we haven't implemented, that if we did, our business would be much better off. So that's what we're about, getting that redundant stuff. We go away to a conference, we learn a lot, sometimes some of us drink a lot, we forget a lot, and my job is to help you remind it. Now, the two areas in which I operate in are both in the small to medium-sized business space. I work with work groups and sometimes with small business, that means the whole business, in helping them reach their full potential. And that's where the outcomes come out, that we get better systems, we get job descriptions that are functional and accurate, have measurable KPIs, meaningful agendas for meetings, and a calendar that means that the business will operate and the reporting mechanisms will be there so we know exactly where we're going. There's three key assumptions that we make before we work with anyone. You're good at what you do, at least good at what you do. If you're excellent, it's better. There's a product for your services, or there's a market for your product and your services, and you want to make a profit. Some people are happy just being where they are and having a job. But if you want to make that business work for you, then you qualify as a client in those three areas. So that's one area, working with work groups. The other area, I am the local chair in the Hunter for a group called TEC, or the Executive Connection. And we are a group of CEOs, small to medium-sized businesses again, who meet monthly. We have guest speakers who come along, and we've got a bank of guest speakers of about 700 that we can call upon. And depending on the needs of our members, this person runs a workshop for a morning, and we get some takeaway stuff from that. And then for the second half of the day, we talk about the issues, the challenges, and the opportunities that each of our members are facing. Now, we've got a group of 16 CEOs, ranging in size of businesses for turnover of about 25 million to just over 1 million, the smallest. And when you've got 16 CEOs sitting in that room, and you've got a challenge or an opportunity there, to get their expertise and their opinions and their advice is certainly worth a lot more. This business started in 1957 when an industrialist retired and worked out where he learnt most of his stuff. And most of his stuff was learnt not during the conference, but after it, normally with an alcohol in his hand. And he thought, well, I wonder if I can make a business out of it. Now, we don't have or encourage alcohol, do we, Jen, during the meetings, but we certainly have that convivial atmosphere where we learn from each other. So that's basically what I'm doing, and I am involved in a number of other things, so I'm going to ask a question. There's a few people have given away some things in the past, so I thought I'd carry on the tradition. Next Monday is the 110th anniversary of what? You already know, Eddie, I'm not going to look at you. Does anyone know? Sorry, I can't hear. Okay, who? You're going to get that, are you? Oops, sorry, Robin. So, Hilton was the first one that I came up with. And if I can do the draw for the next one, is that what happens?
Are you going to give us the answer?
Yeah, it's Rotary. Rotary International was started on the 23rd of January, 23rd of February 1905 by a fellow called Paul Harris. And we are very close, as a member of Rotary, I'm very proud to say we are very close to eradicating polio from the world. About 3 countries to go. Thanks, Craig. I've left my business card there if you wanted. On the table, there's some business cards.
I have my notes, Bob.
And
If
I've
you
got
can
your
leave
notes,
those there,
okay.
that'd be great.
I can write your notes. All right, thank you.
Get it by memory, Meryl.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Bob. Well done.
That's for the next.
Excellent. All right, so we're going to duck into breakfast now. So breakfast is ready to go. So we might start on this side of the table and work our way through, this side of the room, and then we'll come back for our big debate. And we are live streaming this morning, so if you are on camera, you are going live to the web, so please behave yourselves. Have we started? Yeah. I better behave myself a little bit more. So enjoy your breakfast, and we'll come back in about 15 minutes' time. All right. We might power through just so that we can maximise our time this morning with our guests. So please continue to finish off your breakfast for those guys that were last in the line to get their breakfast, but we'll continue on with the meeting. So as tradition, so Bob got to stand up and tell us all about his business this morning. We've had our lucky draw for those people early enough to come in and network, and for next month they win 2 prizes. So they win, Bob's graciously given them a prize from his business, but also they get the honour to do 5 minutes of fame next month at our member breakfast. And for this gentleman, Mr. Robert Aitchison from Northern Highland Travel. Congratulations. And I was just talking to those guys, and I remember last year Jenny did a great job in talking about their business. So, mate, you've got big shoes to fill. Good luck. All right, so we've got one of the welcomes that I did forget this morning. We do have Duncan Burke, who is the local Chamber Alliance Manager from New South Wales Chamber. So welcome, Duncan. Thank you for attending today. First-time attendees, Peter Allen from APP. Where's Peter? Stand up and give us a wave. He's a ghost. Okay, we'll catch him next meeting. We also have a guest of Bob Kerr, so Eddie Patel from Hudson's Coffee. Welcome, Eddie. Thank you for attending. And we have a couple of new members who get a minute to introduce their business to the Chamber. So I'll start off first with Simon Thorne from PKF Lawler. So where's Simon? I'll come up and give you the mic, Simon, so that the webcast can hear you in all your glory.
Thank you. Good morning. I think most people know the Lawler business, which last year rebranded from Lawler Partners and joined the PKF network nationally, becoming PKF Lawler. Nothing has really changed. We're still very much a business born in the Hunter, which has grown into a national alliance. We do all forms of accounting, and you don't want to know what I do. I'm an insolvency practitioner, so we'll move on from there. Enjoy your breakfast.
Excellent, thanks. Hopefully we'll get to meet and use your business, but maybe not in your capacity, Simon. Okay, our second new member is Jacob Northam and Jason Wilkes from JWN Group. So where are those guys?
So I'm Jacob and this is Jason. Yeah, we're from JWN Facilities Management. We have a few cleaning companies. We most recently took over Beresfield cleaning service. Got around 150 staff at the moment, but probably only around 70 full time. We do a variety of cleaning for everything from small offices right up to shopping centres and mines. It's a really interesting business. I used to be an accountant. Jason's still an accountant, and I find cleaning much more interesting. Yeah, so since we've taken over, we've made a few changes, and we hope to make a lot more. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Where's Greg Cox? We have an accountant that uses our offices every week. If you could start to love cleaning, that would be great as well. Thanks. All right, we have a couple of announcements. I might get Penny Carney, if you want to come up and tell us a little bit about what's happening with the Maywell Group.
Thanks, Craig. Well, good morning, everybody. I just want to mention to you about something we think is great going on at Maywell. We have a gentleman who, his name is Gerald Frogley. He's part of the police rescue group in Newcastle, and he has a son who comes to Maywell. He is actually looking to get an Australian Book of Records record by going around Australia on a Honda 120, I think that's the right name for the bike, which is a cute little bike he's going around on, and he's come to us and said he'd like to raise money for Maywell because his son has autism, and by coming to Maywell has changed not only his son's life but their whole life. So I'll put some of these around the table. There's some out the front there, so if you'd interested in donating, that'd be great. And the other thing I must mention is Maywell's ball. It's on the 9th of May, and we'd love you all to be at that too. So thank you very much, everybody, for the opportunity to tell you about it.
Thanks, Penny. On your tables, there's some information about the Relay for Life in Maitland, the Enchanted Garden Ball. So have a look at the flyer. The ball is on the 21st of March at the Maitland Town Hall. The other thing, last year we had, in December, we had the sort of 12 days of Christmas where members had the opportunity to have their businesses highlighted through our email newsletter system and on our website. It was really popular, and so what we're going to do is run that again in March, and we're going to call it March Madness. So during March, the Chamber will be promoting members through our email, LinkedIn and Twitter. So if you've got a message, a special offer or something that you want to promote at no cost, send it through to Fiona and she'll put you into our March Madness system. All right, so what we're all been waiting for, the big debate with or conversation with our 4 local candidates. Like I said, it's live to the web, so on your tables there, we may get some systems out here to try and get the worm. If you remember the worm, we might try and get that going if we can. See how they're going. All right, so I'm going to introduce our facilitator for this morning, Meryl Swanson. Our host and moderator, Meryl is a radio presenter and self-confessed current affairs and political junkie. Sounds good.
Story, Craig.
She's a local who has a broad understanding of the issues and hopes to elicit the best information possible this morning. She also has a consultancy business in corporate communication and media and is available to assist your business. She can be contacted via meryl.com.au. Well, awesome webpage.
Oh, this is
Great name. Please have a look at the cards. They're on your table. Without further ado, I'll hand you over to Meryl, who's going to introduce our 4 candidates.
Thank you, Craig. I'm good. I'm off and rolling already. Good morning, everybody. Hello and welcome to the 2015 Maitland Business Chamber New South Wales State Election Candidates Forum. As Craig said, I'm Meryl Swanson, the moderator this morning. We also have an official timekeeper in Fiona Buchanan from the Chamber. Yes, Fee, you do have to keep the time this morning. Be brutal. This is how it will run, just to recap for you this morning. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to introduce themselves and answer the question, how will you help business in Maitland? I will then pose some questions from you, the audience, and I'll invite you to ask those questions as well. I have a few up my sleeve in case people are a little shy to get going this morning, but really this is all about you. At the end, we will ask each candidate to close, rebut or respond. They'll have 2 minutes to do that, and we should have you out of here by around 8:30, 8:40. Look, it's really easy to be cynical about politics, and let's face it, there have been some rather ordinary outcomes in recent times involving all level of the political spectrum, and we've all had that wringing hands, brow tugging moment of thinking, what the hell is going on at local, state and federal political level? And there is a level of cynicism in the voting populace of Australia. Statements like they're all the same, what I do, really won't make too much difference. It doesn't matter which party they're from or what they stand for. They really often don't stand for much more than themselves, are things that I hear people say all the time and not just in talkback radio. But I think that we all, as voters, have an obligation to vote with full awareness, be as informed as possible, ask questions and let our political aspirants know what we expect for them and that we expect them to do their best for our community and deliver the things that they say they're going to deliver. So this morning is your opportunity to scrutinise these people who've put their hand up to represent the Maitland community. I also see it as a new opportunity for Maitland. None of them come with the burden or indeed the kick of being an incumbent. They're all fresh, and I think that's a fantastic thing. So we have 4 people who've said, I want to represent this community. This morning we have the opportunity to get to know them a little better. And I would say to you, pose the questions that are in your heart and mind now so that you don't feel shortchanged later. I'm going to introduce them in alphabetical order of surname. And here they are, the 4 of them. Firstly, Jenny Aitchison from the Australian Labor Party. Jenny, you might like to give everyone a quick wave there. Just stand and let everyone say good morning. Jenny was born in Canberra, where she completed a BA in Psychology at the Australian National University and a graduate diploma in Psychology, University of Canberra. She's now a Fellow of the Australian Institute of Company Directors. Jenny started her career as a policy officer in the Department of Immigration and Citizenship. In 2000, Jenny took on the role of Managing Director of Northern Highland Travel, a family business. Since taking on the role, she has expanded it into a multi-million-dollar tour operator, travel agency, including All Australian Journeys, Hello World Thornton and Woody's Cafe and a conference centre. Jenny was the foundation president and now secretary of the Women's Network Hunter New South Wales. She served on the board of the Lower Hunter Enterprise Centre, and she was also appointed to the Joint Ministerial Council on Women in Local Government in 2010. Jenny also served as the inaugural Deputy Chair of the Coach and Charter Committee of the Australian Bus Industry Confederation and Deputy Chair of the Coach Branch of the New South Wales Bus and Coach Association. She's won many prestigious awards for her business and personally, including Lower Hunter Businesswoman of the Year. She was also nominated for the Telstra Businesswoman of the Year. Jenny has 2 teenage children, Joshua and Jessica, who she has raised in Maitland, and a mob of kangaroos. They are her substitute pets at her home in Thornton. She has travelled widely around Australia and overseas, enjoys reading and listening to music, and I dare say is an expert on taking a trip on a bus. Jenny, please join us.
Thank you, everyone. First up, so that's always fun. A lot of you already know me, but for those of you who don't, I think Meryl's given a good overview of some of the things I've achieved. In terms of my commitment to Maitland and this community, it's about being somewhere where there's growth. And one of the things about growing up in Canberra is that at the time I was there, we were the baby boomers of the baby boomers. So we had infrastructure issues all through my childhood, and I understood what the impacts were of overcrowded schools, of trying to get healthcare, all those sorts of things. And I see that that's not the situation that I want for my family here in Maitland. As what I've done in terms of business and how I think that will help in my role as the member for Maitland, should I be lucky enough to be elected, is I guess that I have had an experience in a variety of different businesses. You know, there would be people out amongst you who are cafe, conference centre kind of owners, or you know, travel agents. We've had those come to the chamber quite a lot. And also just in terms of bus operators, I know that CDC's been there and I've got a lot of experience in that background. They're all very distinct and different businesses. Some have lots of regulation, the bus industry has a lot. Some have not very much regulation in terms of, you know, conference centre, aside from the food stuff, doesn't have much. You can sort of set it up with a room. So I understand how the impact of government on business can really affect how you run your business and changes to business. One of the things that I've noticed in the last 4 years is there has been a lot of change for business. A lot of it's been actually lowering barriers to entry to business industries. It's all done in the name of red tape reduction. But if you look at things like what's happening with painters at the moment, so a painter now, as of the 15th of January, doesn't need to be licensed to do any work and charge you as a commercial business for under $5,000. They don't need to have any licensing to do internal work. That sounds great because you can get cheap painting done. But, you know, the travelling people that come around and then you put the bucket underneath the gutters in 5 months' time and collect the paint because it's such bad quality, that's one issue. But the other issue for somewhere like Maitland is where we've got a lot of asbestos in old buildings, we've got lead-based paint. And as I found from talking to Todd Lantry, one of our local painters, you know, it could be $10,000 extra to get that work done properly. Are you going to take that risk with your family? Now, the red tape involved in getting a qualified licensed painter is just a, you know, number, a licence number for you on a piece of paper, a contract. What happens when the mobile phone of that painter gets disconnected? And what happens, more importantly, to you, thinking from your perspective as a business person, there's now a whole lot of people in your industry who can compete against you. It's happened in travel. You know, I'm a travel agent and you can now book a $50,000 trip with anyone. You know, Penny Carney can become the travel agent for the Maitland Business Chamber and take that money off to the races if she wants. You know, and hopefully she wins and you still get to go to Europe, but otherwise you don't. I think the other thing we need to look at is how this government has been managing their money. The first year of his Treasury, there was a mistake, $1 billion mistake in the budget of New South Wales. If we look at what's happening at WestConnex down in Sydney, the ratio of return on investment of that was 80 cents for every dollar they've spent. And so now they want to sell our electricity poles and wires to fund another connection to make that viable. And that's just a disgrace, because what will that mean? Well, when we look at electricity privatisation of poles and wires everywhere else, it's 32% less reliability and it's also more expensive. So what happens to you and your business? The Liberals at the federal level haven't helped us with broadband. The NBN has just been a joke under their delivery. And now what's going to happen when your power's going out 32% of the time? And we're a regional area. Some people are waiting a week to get their phones fixed at the moment. How long could you do in your business without power? Those are some of the things that I think are really vital. I've got big fire in my belly and I will fight for Maitland. If my party does the wrong thing, if they decide they're going to cut our, you know, major network into Newcastle, I'll fight. If they tell us they're going to deliver a hospital and then they say, and keep the existing one and then change their mind, I'll fight. And they're things I've been fighting for in the last 14 months of my candidacy, which I will continue to fight for. And I'm fighting for all of you. If we don't have that existing Maitland Hospital, think of the jobs that are gone. Think of what's going to happen to the news agency at West End, who's already been kicked by this government in terms of not having the, you know, the contracts renewed. That's been rolled over after pressure from the Labor Party. But he was losing 40 to 60% of his lotto sales. And if the Maitland Hospital closes, he loses all of his patients that he delivers to every day. Thanks.
Thank you, Jenny. Jenny Aitchison, everybody. That's what Aitchison gets for you, Jenny A, to kick off. Next is John Brown from the Greens. John is a freelance journalist. He was born in Cessnock, where his father and grandfather before him were both mayors of the city. So politics has been a major part of his life. He moved to Maitland 30 years ago. He worked at the Maitland Mercury and was a chief sub-editor before moving to the Newcastle Herald, where he held a number of senior positions, including sports editor. Some would argue that's the most important position. Often deputising as chief sub-editor and features editor. John, why was there not more golf in the Herald? He worked at the Herald for 26 years before going freelance. He's married to his wife Sue. They have one daughter and two granddaughters. On the political front, because he was brought up on a diet of politics, he's come to believe in social justice, caring for the environment and, above all, honesty in politics. On the personal interest front, he has two main interests: running a marathon, which might be compared to being elected, and promoting and supporting our local libraries. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you John Brown from the Greens.
Thank you very much. I can assure you that running marathons is easier than standing up here in front of you. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate in today's discussion, and thank you for the warm welcome that I've received today. I told a friend that I was coming here today, and I said to them, oh, this might be like Daniel entering the lion's den. And she looked at me and she said, well, you know, just think about it, John. She said, Daniel walked out, and after he did, he left a few friends behind. So, being not doing the non-political thing, I will answer the question at hand. How will I, the Greens, help business in Maitland? To me, that question is too narrow. It should be, how do you help the people of Maitland to help business in Maitland? Well, the Greens, we have a 3-point plan. It's jobs, jobs, jobs. Clean jobs for the future. More employed people means more money spent in local business. Some facts. The unemployment rate in Australia is rising, and there has been a significant decline in the coal industry, which hurts the Hunter Valley in particular. Hundreds of jobs have been lost in the past few months, and many other losses have been signalled. Let's take a look at what's happening overseas with coal. China has signalled a move away from coal and have plans for an emissions trading scheme. A number of American states have introduced laws banning coal-fired power stations. And in the UK, get this, in the UK, they've just signed a tripartisan agreement to end the use of coal in that country. That is, the Conservatives, the Lib Dems and the Labor Party got together to sign an agreement to end coal in their country. Now, that's like actually getting together on a tripartisan way to save the planet. In Australia, investment companies and organisations are divesting themselves of shares in fossil industries. Now, so what about the Hunter Valley? How can we create more jobs for the future? The answer is renewable energy and transitioning our workforce to a cleaner future. In the Hunter, we are lucky because we have a great workforce available to us, and they have the skills to meet the challenges. Let's start with something simple. Last week I had an article in the Maitland Mercury about solar panels covering an open-air car park at Green Hills. Now, this is not new. If you look at what's happening in the world, you look at what's happening in Sydney, they've actually started doing the same thing. Solar panels over the car parks has a great benefit to a lot of people. Number one, you employ people to erect them. Number two, you have the solar power benefit, which reduces cost to any businesses that want to take advantage of it. And number three is that you actually can have shade for your vehicle. And also thinking about the future, if you use such a facility in the future, these things are so simple that you just plug your car in, your electric car. Who's going to buy a Tesla? Anyone got plans to buy a Tesla? You ever heard of it? Yeah, the electric cars of the future. Thank you, Mr. Aitchison. So you think that doing such a project in Maitland would be a bridge too far? Well, it's already happening, as I said, on a minor scale everywhere. But if you look at Europe, what's happening over in Europe, Germany in particular, with their solar panels. I've just come back from Greece, where I ran the Greek marathon, as a matter of fact, but my wife and I toured around the country, and you cannot believe the number of solar panels that are going up in Greece. Why don't we have them here? We have, let me tell you, we have a lot more sunshine here than they have. So that's renewable energy for the future. Closer to home, we actually have a few wineries as well. I think Drayton's has gone solar panel. I think that Tyrrells are also planning to do it, and there's a organic vineyard called Tamburlaine, which is also planning to head that way with solar panels as well. Now, there are actually two more key factors in this transition for the workforce that are very important. They are economics and education. I believe strongly in climate change, and I also believe that one of the ways we can help save this planet is through economics. As soon as we realise that the coal industry is on the way out, it will change the dynamics. Business and industry will be looking at other ways to invest. Renewable energy is the future. Independent academic studies show that the renewable energy sector will be able to provide thousands of jobs into the future.
John, that's 5 minutes. I'll get you to conclude.
Oh, I've got to finish now. That's 5 minutes.
It goes fast when you're having fun.
It does, yeah, okay. Well, what else can I say? We also support in re-educating our workforce for the future in keeping our TAFE. Thank you very much.
Good on you. You could say, all right, well done. Here's a tip for you. You could have said vote for me.
Some things come natural.
That's okay. Well done. Thank you. Our next candidate is Phillip Penfold. Phillip is standing as an independent. He is currently a councillor on Maitland Council and has been so for the past 6 years. He was born and bred in Maitland and lives with his wife Nicole and 2 sons, William and Matthew, in Ashtonfield. He is a former Building Society branch manager and for 9 years was self-employed as a Mortgage Choice franchisee. He is a former local Liberal Party president, though resigned from the party 3 years ago. Phillip is standing as an independent, as I mentioned, in this state election. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Phillip Penfold.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for having me here today. Can I acknowledge the Mayor of Maitland, Councillor Peter Blackmore, and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Loretta Baker, Councillor Gagan, and of course our Member for Maitland, Robin Parker. It must be very difficult, I would suggest, to sit there and watch 4 people apply for your job. So we welcome you all here today and thank you for having us. I've met many of you, as have many of our candidates here today, so I appreciate that you've had us along. And I think you've got for a business chamber, can I say, you've got a great bunch of 4 candidates as far as self-employment goes. I think between at least the 3 of us, I'm not sure about Mr Brown, but at least the 3 of us, you're probably looking at 50 years worth of self-employment. So as a business chamber for Maitland, about business moving forward, you're going to have somebody that has some experience and understands the issues that you guys have moving forward. Look, I'm here to answer the question, and the question was about what can we do to support business, and unfortunately I don't think you've heard that in the first 2 speakers. I don't think you heard it at all from the Greens. I think you heard the suggestion that coal is ended. Labor, despite our candidate having good business credentials, stood up and spoke of restriction, the restriction that spoke of not supporting any move to involve private sector in anything in the economy. And I don't think that's what you're here to hear. The answer to the question, obviously, is it's all about the economy, stupid. As per Bill Clinton's campaign, it's all about the economy. You want a candidate, you want a government that is going to provide a strong economy so that you guys have the freedom to move forward and to be able to job create as you all do here today. So that's what it's about. It's about having a government. We have a good government. I'm not here to badmouth the Liberals. They're doing well in many areas. I'm not a member because there are local issues that I don't support, but I do applaud the government. They are doing some great things for Maitland. Job creation comes from the infrastructure. We've had some great achievements from this government as far as infrastructure projects locally. I will acknowledge Mr Brown's comment about TAFE. I do take issue with that. I think that for those of you that employ people that are going through TAFE at the moment, I acknowledge that there was a need for cuts. This government's come in after 16 years of Labor neglect. They've needed to rein in some costs, but TAFE fees have gone too far. The fee element of TAFE cuts has gone too far. It's hurting your prospective employees, and it's hurting those of you that employ apprentices and for those of you that have to pay for that apprenticeship course. So there are elements there that we need to have fixed. We need to fix those things so that You guys can employ qualified people. We need to make those courses affordable so that we have trained professionals for you guys to take on for the future. We need a tax policy that is appropriate, that recognises the efforts that you guys make. We need regulation that ensures that you're free to make good choices where it's in the community's interest for that to be done. As a councillor on the City Council, we have a well-managed council, and I'm not here to talk on their behalf, but I think we've shown, and me being part of that as well, have shown that we support the job creation that comes from the projects that we've commenced, the levy project. Some of these projects assisted by some state funding. We need to improve the infrastructure that we have in Maitland. We're a growing city, we have growing pains. We have a need to provide the infrastructure that allows you guys to progress. We need to give you what you need to make your jobs, your employment, your businesses successful, and then we need to get out of your way. And I think you find that from the government's perspective, from the council's perspective, we're providing for you the infrastructure to do what you need to do, and in providing that infrastructure, we're creating jobs along the way. So I appreciate that you've had me along today. I'd like to congratulate all the candidates. This is not easy. We've all been there. Robin Parker knows it more than most. Councillor Blackmore. It's not an easy thing, and congratulations to all of you for putting your hand up. There's only 4 people out of 72,000 people put their hand up so far. This is not an easy gig, and congratulations to all of you for participating. Thank you.
Thank you, Phillip. Our final candidate this morning is Steve Thomson from the Liberal Party, the Liberal National Party, I should say, I'm sorry. He's the owner, the LNP? No, you haven't merged in New South Wales, have you? The owner of the Long Hard Look Financial in East Maitland, director of the Endeavour Group Australia, a disability services provider in Maitland, director of the Hunter Business Chamber, representing smaller chambers in the Hunter Valley. He was vice president of Maitland Junior Rugby Union, and I know he holds the black and white dear to his heart. Served 3 years on this chamber's board and 2 as president. He has had 25 years in the financial services industry and worked for Westpac, ANZ, Zurich, ING and NRMA. He has owned his own business since 2007. And in case you haven't put 2 and 2 together and worked out that I am reading introductions provided for me by the candidates, he is a self-proclaimed all-round good guy. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Thomson.
Thank you, Meryl. I'm the rookie here today, so I'm bringing notes, and I'm also going to have the microphone up here. I say rookie because unlike the other 3 speakers you've heard from this morning, I've never run for public office.
It's all right, I'll fix it, Steve. You keep
Thanks,
talking.
Meryl. I've never run for public office. I'm just I like to call myself a daggy dad.
Stay on it.
I've got 3 kids. I've been married for 20 years in April to the one woman, which she and I both think is important. But like I said, I've never done this before. So when Robin announced that she wasn't going to run again, I thought, I can sit on the sidelines and throw stones, or I can get involved. So I chose to get involved. So what I want to do this morning is answer the question about what I'm going to do for business in Maitland. And it's good to be standing up here again, and thank you, Craig, for keeping the chair warm. You've kept it in good nick. It's good to be here. As Phillip said, this is a tough thing to do. Only 4 people have put their hand up out of the entire city. But I want you to know that what you get when I stand up here is an answer to the question. So the question we've been asked is what we're going to do for business, and I'm going to answer that. But before I do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about what this government has done in the last 4 years about business in Maitland. So if you forgive me for a sec, I'm going to take us back. I'm not going to take us back to the dark old days. I'm going to go back 4 years to 2011. As you all know, small business is the backbone of the economy. There's 680,000 small businesses employing 42% of the people in New South Wales. And here in Maitland, there's 4,500 small businesses. There's 4,800 businesses in total, but 4,500 of them are small businesses. That's at least 4,500 families. So every one of those businesses is at least one family. And when you spend $1 with one of those businesses, you put $1 into a family's hand. That family then go and spend it with another small business in Maitland, because if you do the maths, it's about 97% of the businesses in Maitland are small businesses. So they take that dollar and they go and spend it with another small business. And that dollar floats around our community 5 or 6 times. Right? Small business is this city. And that's why we're all here, and that's why we're all in small business. Since coming to office, the Liberal government have implemented a range of initiatives that help small business. We established the Office of the Small Business Commissioner. So you can ring up, you can get advice, you can see the small business bus when it comes around, you can talk to Small Biz Connect on the phone if you've got an issue. It's a great outcome. We've cut red tape, and the latest estimate is that that cutting of red tape has saved small businesses $750 million. New South Wales government agencies under the O'Farrell and Baird Liberal governments pay their bills to small businesses within 30 days. And if they don't, they pay you interest. So suddenly you can deal with the government as a small business owner and know that your cash flow is going to be guaranteed. And if it's not, they're going to pay you interest for it. We've introduced a one-on, two-off rule. So for every new piece of legislation that's introduced, 2 come off. So far it's running at 5 to 1. So 1 on, 5 off, cutting red tape. We've introduced reforms to work cover. We've seen a 15% reduction in claims from small business employees, and we've seen 50% less paperwork required to lodge a claim by business owners. And we introduced the Small Business Friendly Council program that encourages councils to work with small businesses and to place their contracts locally in their LGA. Going forward, I think it's pretty clear that the Liberal government has a clear plan, and we have a way to fund it. And that's been all over the news, and whether you like it, whether you agree with it, you cannot argue that it is not clear. We are telling you exactly what we're going to do, and we're telling you exactly how we're going to fund it. Since March 2011, we've turned the state's finances around. We were ranked number 8 in economic indicators, behind Tasmania. Number 8. You're running a business in an economy that is ranked number 8 in New South Wales 4 years ago. We're now ranked number 1. We now have the lowest unemployment rate of all the states. Lowest. 5.7%, lowest of all the states. So don't listen. Jobs are going, all of that. Lowest unemployment rate in the country. The economy is making solid progress, and that's being driven by the Baird Liberal government. So let's answer the question, what are we going to do for business in Maitland? I'm not going to say we've got a 4-point plan or a 6-point plan or a 10-point plan, because we'd rather do it than talk about it. So what are we going to do? We're going to continue to cut red tape. At the moment, like I said, 1 on, 5 off. I mean, 1 on, 2 off is great, 1 on, 5 off is fact. We're going to continue to invest in infrastructure. Let's not forget it was the Liberal government that introduced the Hunter Infrastructure and Investment Fund, initially with $350 million and have added another 100 since. What have we got from that here in Maitland, right here in this LGA? 20 million for a new hospital, 1,000 jobs. 1,000 jobs. We will continue to do what we've done, and you know how we're going to do it, and you know how we're going to fund it. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Now it's your turn. I'd like to invite some questions from the floor. Before I do that, there are a few things that I've had a look at in my research, and these are broad community issues that I've noticed have been raised in the media, in social media, and I just want to tick through a few of them. The first one being the fate of the existing Maitland Hospital, especially in relation to growing demand from residential development, i.e. Huntley, Gilliston Heights and various other sites across the electorate. I put a call out, I have a couple of thousand people following me on Facebook, I put a call out to those people who lived in the Maitland area, and these are some of the things that came back to me. I had a look at the Mercury, and I recognise Eve Naismith's here this morning, and I want to say, Eve, I think you've done a great job at covering the candidates and giving the community the best possible information through the paper. Thank you for that. The other thing is the funding mix for the new lower Hunter Hospital based at Medford. Who'll pay for the build? When it's running, will it be privatised? What will that funding mix be? Also public transport issues around it. I did have a couple of people come to me on Facebook and say, why don't they put it on the old Alcan site at Kurri Kurri, because the helicopters could land there without rising the hankles of residents. I just throw that out there because I thought that was an interesting one. The removal of the rail line to Newcastle and the associated inconvenience to Maitland commuters, road issues, particularly flooding of Testers Hollow, the safety of Buchanan and Mount Vincent roads and the dual lanes on the New England Highway, coal wagon dust, a new high school for Maitland, school to work transitions and youth unemployment, which is currently running at 16% in our area. Seatbelts on school buses was the other thing that came. So I just throw to you as the business community what the broader community have said. Now, I'd love to ask you for your questions. Do we have someone who wants to kick off
Meryl,
the questions this morning?
before we get into those questions, I've got these 4 really warm,
Yes, I'm going to do that. I'd like to invite the candidates to come and have a seat at the front, just so that we can ask you quickly and efficiently for some answers. And I will ask you to keep your answers as short as you can. Thank you. Do we have someone who'd like to kick off a question this morning? You'll start the ball rolling. Nick Swanson,
So
Harvey
we
Norman
need you to
Computers.
talk into the mic so that the guys can get your question on the webcast.
Hello, welcome. I just have a question about, we're in a regional centre in Maitland, obviously. We constantly see government basing themselves too much in the Sydney area. There's a real opportunity for us to get some of those government organisations and just big business in general to come to the Maitland area. My question is to whoever wants to answer that, it's not to anyone specifically, is do you have a plan to get big business here into Maitland? Because the more people we get employed in this area, the more we'll stimulate the economy. Or is there any plan to get any of the government organisations, the big government organisations that state use towards the Maitland area, and how can we incentivise them?
Excellent question, Nick, and that's really one of the focuses for our chamber is decentralisation of government agencies. So do we have a volunteer, Jenny?
If you look at the last Labor government, we brought up the Office of State Revenue's Infringement Processing Bureau here, and also the Minerals Resources. So we have a record of bringing that and decentralising to regional areas. The Liberals have cut jobs. They've cut jobs out of community counselling, so that's 30 jobs out of the region going. They've cut $3 billion out of health, so that's health jobs going in our region. And again, as I said earlier, if they don't keep the existing hospital, all these jobs that they're talking about, they're not additional jobs. I mean, there will be some, obviously, because it's a bigger hospital, but it will be less than will be under having the 2. Thank you.
Anyone else want to make a comment? Yep.
Great question, Nick. I think it's really interesting that we talk about governments bringing departments to Maitland. What brings big business to Maitland and what brings government departments to Maitland is having a city that can support it and an infrastructure that can support it. We've got the highest youth unemployment, I think, in New South Wales outside of Western Sydney at 16%.
16%, yes, that's correct.
If we bring a government department here or we bring big business here, all those kids aren't magically going to go and work there. Right? It's not the answer to our problem. It does help the city and it does drive business by bringing those there, but businesses have got to want to come here and they've got to want to have some sort of incentive. And I think it would be a great result for the chamber movement to be advocating for some sort of payroll tax reduction for businesses to move out of the Sydney metro area and move regionally. I think it's a far stronger argument from the chamber movement than it is from any one candidate.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have another question? Craig, I know that you have.
I know Duncan's keen. He's ready to go. Look at him. He's fired up.
Excellent.
Yeah, g'day, Duncan from the New South Wales Business Chamber. Infrastructure is on everybody's lips this morning. The HEF has done a great job here in putting some money back into the region. The Baird government, though, is allocating $6 billion to the development of the Regional Infrastructure Fund. How will you ensure that funds are allocated, well, the funds that are being allocated to the region isn't going to be concentrated on centres such as Newcastle, but money is actually going to be spent here in areas like Maitland?
Great question. No Newcastle or Maitland.
Thanks, Duncan. You obviously got a question sent in by a member. Look, I think we've shown over the last 4 years that Maitland is not the poor cousin of the Hunter Valley. You know, we've got $45 million worth of roadworks going on at the railway station roundabout. We've got $20 million put aside for early planning work on the hospital. We've got $2 million from the HIF ready to go on the upgrade of the town hall. We've got $7 million from the HIF ready to go when council's ready to go on number 2 sports ground. There was a $5 million low interest loan came out of that HIF for the first stage of the levy. And I know council have put an application into the Resources for Regions Fund for stage 2 of that. So I think we've shown over the past 4 years that Maitland doesn't miss out. Unless you've been hiding under a rock or you're not a media junkie like the 4 of us, you would have seen that last week, or earlier this week, we not only announced $7 million for the upgrade of the New England Highway here, but we also announced $2 million for Tokal Road. I don't think we're missing out. I think in the past 4 years we've shown that we don't miss out. And if I get elected as part of the next Baird Liberal government, I'll be campaigning that we get more than our share.
Can I just intervene there, Stephen? I'm going to slice in with a couple of questions as well. While we're speaking about infrastructure, can you speak to us about the hospital situation? It was front page of the paper. It's a hot topic. I know it's not as such a business-related question, but I know that there is a lot of concern in the community. People want to know what is going on with the existing hospital. Will it stay as a fully operational hospital? And briefly, may perhaps touch on the funding mix for the new hospital. What's going on there?
Well, before we get to the hospital, I know Phillip wanted to just make a bit of a comment
sorry,
about the
Phillip,
last question, so we might get to that first.
My apologies.
No, that's okay. Look, I think we've taught ourselves to accept the. I don't want to say pittance. It's not a pittance, but we're being fed a minor amount, and we're accepting it. We got 3% of a Hunter pool of funds for roads the other day, and it was front page of the Mercury. We've learnt to accept that. $7 million, thank you very much, can we please have some more? You look at what we get by comparison for the wealth we generate, the population issues that we have, the growth that we have, and we just roll over and go, well, thank you very much. You know, we deserve more, we should expect more. We are doing better than we did do, and certainly the last term of government we did better than we often have. We got a minor amount announced the other day with the Premier. God, I hope he comes back because he's got to be offering more than that. You really have to be offering more. We're learning to accept a pittance, and we deserve better. I'll give the microphone to Jenny.
Yeah, I think in the last Labor government we had $400 million was spent on Maitland, so we weren't missing out in that sense. I also want to look at the costing. So if you look at the rail issue, $340 million from the port sale, that was Maitland's share. Do you feel like you got value from that being cut off from Newcastle? And people that talk about the revitalisation of Newcastle had to start, have a think about who put in the law courts, who put in started the negotiations with the university. So we were actually moving towards services in that. So I want money for infrastructure funds coming to Maitland to build infrastructure, not destroy that we already have. And as you know, I've got a background in transport, and for me that's a really key issue, because we look at socioeconomic demographics of people with good, solid transport links like rail. They always do better in situations like the GFC. The other issue, just to get to your hospital one, my concern about a public-private partnership is we had a $20 million promise for a new hospital, and that seems to be, okay, 5 to 6, correct me if I'm wrong, it might be more now on consultants, a free site. If they do a PPP, it'll be they won't have to pay for the building cost of that. That'll be done by the private sector. It'll then go to management of a private operator. So that means it's subject to their decisions, their business decisions about what services are getting delivered there and how they're getting delivered. We look at the Port Macquarie experience, and they ran out of money to do hip replacements by March of a financial year, and then said, well, we can't do this. The government had to step in and get it back. So the Auditor General of New South Wales said that we paid for that hospital twice, and then we gave it away. The PPP that Robin's been talking about in consultations
that's a public-private partnership, just for...
Yeah,
Sorry.
it is a private, but it's a legacy one. The nuns aren't in the business of running hospitals. This hospital won't be the Mater, it'll be Healthscope or Ramsay or another, one of those big companies, a lot of whom are donators to the Liberals. So, this is a concern, And the staffing ratios are not mandated in the private sector. So when you go to your public hospital and they have to report on their staffing ratios and they are set at specific targets for patient care, whereas when you go into the private ones, they are adequate. Now, if you're happy with adequate care that's not reported on the levels, I don't know, I'm not. That's not what I want for my kids and my family. So I'm very concerned about that. And it will leave us without a public hospital in Maitland. There will be public services available, of course, in a PPP. But...
Thank you, Jenny. I'll get you to wrap up there. John wants to comment, and then Penny has a question as well, so...
Just going back to your original question about the money aspect, there is no guarantee for that. There is no guarantee that you... What it's going to come down to is something that Jenny spoke earlier about. It's going to be the fight that's within the candidate, the sitting member of Parliament. The fight that's in them to get what their city deserves. So that's what it'll come down to in the end. In regard to the hospital, all this talk about the hospital, I think we were in discussion the other day about it. I think we're going to get the first beds in about 2020. Was it 2020? Is that right? What's happening to the hospital now? The funding is pitiful. The funding that we're getting in Maitland Hospital is not adequate enough. My concern is the hospital right now, right this moment. In the next, 8 or 9 years before we get the new hospital, if we get the new hospital, our current hospital is bursting at the seams. The funding is far inadequate in comparison to areas like Western Sydney. Now, Maitland is missing out on our proper funding for our hospital at the moment, so forget about the future. What about now? What's happening now? So I'm very concerned about that. So if we get in, if we have some power in the state government after this election, you can rest assured, because the Greens now know about the situation at Maitland Hospital, we will be fighting to get proper funding for our current hospital.
Thank you, John. I'm just also being the timekeeper this morning, and I'm just saying that we were going to finish at 8:30. My clock has decided to die. Can someone give me a quick... 8:34. So we'll continue. Is everyone in agreement? We'll continue on for the next 5 or 6 minutes, and then I'll wrap you up to let you get to your own businesses and keep the economy going in a real sense. Penny.
My question is, I suppose, there's two parts. One is that it's around transport, and then it's also around the interface between state and federal government. As most people in the room would have heard about the National Disability Insurance Scheme, which we all, I believe, think is a wonderful idea, and I am in that situation obviously too. However, one of the things we're finding in this, where we have we're gradually going over to a national scheme and working with states still on the current funding. Very often what is happening when someone gets a package for from the scheme, the big problem ends up that transport is not included in that package. When we live in this area, we're talking about going between here and Newcastle all the time, but there's a far bigger issue happening around this area where if you want to go to Dungog, there's one train in and one train out. So basically, I guess the two questions are broadening the thinking around transport, and secondly, the interface between state and federal government in the future.
Thanks, Penny. And timely question, given the Disability Services Minister was in town yesterday for a meeting with Endeavour Group. I've said all along that I think there's a bit more to this public transport debate than 3 stations in another electorate. You know, yeah, we're cutting the rail line at Wickham. I actually think it'll revitalise that part of Newcastle, but that's not answering your question. So, look, as somebody involved in the sector, I had somebody say to me as recently as yesterday, you know, they live 20 minutes from Maitland, they've got 2 children with a disability, and they're doing 200 kilometres a day ferrying those kids around because there's no public transport services. Clients that live at Muswellbrook and there's only 1 train a day and the timing doesn't suit. So I think we need to focus on the real transport issues around Maitland, which are the public transport issues and that are bigger than just 3 railway stations. We need to be looking at more bus routes to connect the city, and we need to be looking at connecting our city to the other towns in the region. Your other question about the connectivity between state and federal governments, the NDIS is a really interesting test case because in a lot of cases, state and federal don't really work together that well. It's one or the other. And this is something where the two governments have been forced, or two levels of government have been forced to work together. From what I understand, it's working okay, but there are still teething problems with it, and with the NDIS in particular, and getting those two levels of government to work together for the outcome of the client. So, look, if I get elected, I'd be strongly advocating that we work closer together, and that the quicker we transition here in Maitland, we can get involved in that ironing out process a bit. There are still kinks in it, but from what I understand, it's starting to work better, but it's a rollout, it's a pilot. So,
just while we're passing the microphone, if I can make a journalistic observation, I do find it somewhat curious that we've got a proposal for the Lower Hunter Hospital that doesn't really sync with the nearest train station at Metford. What is that? It's a major, major piece of infrastructure that is not syncing with another important stop.
With respect, it's not my job to represent the government, but I think you'll find that lot does largely back onto that station. Just coming back to Steve's...
It's not that close. Am I wrong here?
It basically backs onto the back of the reserve at that station. But anyway, you'll be hard.
It's a long walk, Phil, from there to the entrance. Like,
absolutely.
I'm just making an observation.
You'll be hard pressed to find a property that size right next to a station anyway. But just coming back to Steve's comment earlier about the cutting of the train line and the fact that will benefit Maitland, will benefit Newcastle. That may well be, Steve, but you're applying for the job to represent the people of Maitland, and we're the ones with the issue regarding that train line. Absolutely, I'm sure that disability, and Steve knows well from his involvement with disability, as does Penny, but surely transport is a major factor in that, and it's very important. We don't just need extra routes, and I know the government has recently announced some support in that regard. We need buses, we need the general public to be willing to use them. We have an issue with people thinking that it's lower socioeconomic people that only use public transport. We need to change the thinking on that. I think we should give John a chance if John wants to talk.
Yeah. If you know anything about the Greens, then you know that we're very much in favour of public transport. That is one of the key issues of our campaign, of course. Cutting the rail lines into Newcastle, one of the worst decisions the government's ever made. Who's going to benefit? Anyway, I'm not going to go there. What we're looking at is increasing public transport for this area. That's what we're looking to do. If you look at the number of services we have in the train stations from Maitland, we need to increase those. We need to have them running every 15 minutes. They talk about low patronage, but once you have the regular train and people know there's going to be a train, I reckon you're going to get lots and lots more people on the trains to use it. Also, we need to expand the rail lines to increase public transport further north, and particularly Dungog and those areas. The roads, if you're going to go up to Dungog, the roads are shocking, terrible. They need more public transport. So if you know anything about the Greens, you know how much we are in favour of public transport.
Just on that increasing the frequency, I noticed in the Mercury the other day, one of their flashbacks was 2009. I think we had a Labor government then. They were increasing the frequency of trains. But to answer your question, I think this government's totally abrogated its responsibility to disability. They're one of the only, according to sector workers that I've been speaking to, they're one of the only state governments that's not putting in disability services properly. Like they're just relying on the federals to put money in there for them. And when you look at what's happening, you know, even from the very first year that this government was in office and talking about transport for disability, how many kids were left on the side of the road in the first week of school in 2012 because this government, our Minister Berejiklian, who Transport Minister, couldn't negotiate contracts with people who provide those school services dedicated to disability services. Now that is an absolute disgrace. You've got kids who are waiting for school buses to go to schools and they've got a disability and it's not arriving because the government couldn't get its act together to do contracts. Labor has a strong commitment to people with a disability. That's, you know, we at the federal level put together the whole concept of the NDIS to try and get the states to work together. We need the Baird government to step up, and if they're not going to do that, then they need to get out of the way and let people who actually care take on the responsibility.
Okay, thank you, Jenny. I'll get you to close there. Again, is there any other questions that you would like to put this morning, ladies and gentlemen? I think in the interests of time, we might wrap up there this morning. Thank you so much for your attendance. I know that it's going to be a long, slow wait for these people for the next 5 weeks or so until the 28th of March, and probably you'll have lots of work to do in your business. I commend to you the candidates, and I invite you to vote well and wisely on March 28, and thank you so much for your time.
Do you have more paperwork there, Meryl, at the bottom?
Oh, I think I've probably stolen yours, Craig.
That's okay. Before we leave, thank you again to the 4 candidates. Great job all. But also, let's give a warm round of applause to Meryl, who did a great job this morning.
Thank you, Craig.
All right, so lucky door prize. So, yep. Yeah, last cards. As you're doing your last cards, we do have somewhere, I'm not sure where Fiona's put it, but we do have a lovely bottle of Tulloch wines from the Hunter Valley for Meryl to thank her for her service this morning. I think Fiona's just ducked out to get that. Our next meeting, breakfast meeting, is back here at the Mercure, Thursday the 19th of March. You'll have to get in early to book because David Evans, the General Manager of the Council, will be coming and give us an update on what's going on in the Council. And look, that meeting usually packs out. Everyone wants to hear about what's going on with the Council, and particularly might give us a bit of an update of what's going on in potential mergers with other councils and how that will affect us here in Maitland. So, yeah, do you want to get Meryl to draw the lucky door prize? Matthew Tranter. Come and grab a bottle of wine, Matthew. Here's a preacher who could run for office. We've all seen him preach before, if you've been to a Maywell debate. Excellent. All right, well, thank you once again. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got some information to better make your decision at the end of March. Congratulations to all candidates for giving us that information today. And again, thank you to Meryl. So have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you again at the end of March, on March 19, back here at the Mercure. Thank you.